If you do what's hard, life will be easy. And if you do what's easy, life will be hard. And I love it because it makes it simplistic to think about. There's always an easy path. And if you can take the easy path and then have a challenge for the rest of your life, or you can take the hard path, and hard being slow flips are hard. You got 5 years that you're working and not getting paid.
All right, guys. So this is Julian Castle with the Real Estate Investors Group. And today I have a guest. His name is Scott Jelinek, and he is a slow flipper. So let's talk about this. Scott, how'd you get into real estate? Can you?
So I know we only have an hour, so I'm going to give you a short version, but this goes back a long time. I don't even know how old you are, Julian, but I started buying in 1994. And back then, and I know you wouldn't remember this, but back then they used to have a thing called non-qualifying assumptions, which was all mortgages back then were assumable with no credit check, no job, no anything, much like a sub-2 now, except with the bank blessing. It was almost exactly like a sub-2, except the bank actually blessed it and put the mortgage in your name with no qualifications. So my first house I bought, it was $5,000 down, $675 a month. I was a landscaper back then, and I bought it just to live in. About 2 weeks after I moved into it, another house came up for sale on the block with a white sign, magic marker, and it said $2,000 down, take over payments. And mind you, I knew nothing about value. I knew nothing about equity. I knew nothing about real estate, but I was pissed because I just paid $5,000 and now this one said $2,000.
Yeah.
I already closed on it and moved in, so there was nothing I can do. So my genius brain said, well, what if I buy that one also? Cost average myself out to $3,500. Sounds a lot better than $5,000.
Yeah.
So I bought the second house on the block, and that was the first trigger in my head to start thinking about real estate, right? I started thinking every month they would pay me, and I'm like, I borrowed this money and they're paying it off. I borrowed it, they're paying it off.
Yeah.
Became obsessed with real estate from that point on, and I bought everything I could based on how much down and how much a month. That was my whole criteria. Can I afford it? Can I get in? Because I had no credit and I had no job. I was mowing lawns. How much down, how much a month? And so that was how I got into real estate. Now, we had our ups and downs, obviously, because we had some turmoil over the years, but that was my initial intake as to how I got into real estate.
That is amazing. So you totally by accident, kind of out of spite of anger for buying a house that was a little bit more expensive, you got into real estate, which is...
Yeah, it was never my plan. Real estate was never on my agenda. It was never my plan. I bought one strictly because I figured it's better to own than to rent. So I bought the one, and then I felt obligated to buy the second one because I thought I got ripped off on the first one, and then it just snowballed from there.
That's amazing. So what happened next? Tell me, like, how
I don't know if you have enough time, but I'll tell you. So I started...
How did things progress?
So I started buying all I can buy, right? Now, mind you, I'm not making any real money. I'm mowing lawns at the time, but I started in 1994. By the year 2000, I had 20, and these were all Virginia Beach houses, right? In 2001, now I'm into real estate, right? I got 20 houses. I'm a real estate guy. I'm going to seminars. I'm reading books. I'm learning everything I can learn about real estate.
Yeah.
Something else happened in 2001 that, again, younger people don't realize wasn't always around was we had no appreciation from the mid-'80s to about 2000, none.
Yeah.
2001, my houses started going up in value, and I was like, whoa, this $65,000 house is now worth 90, is now worth 120, is worth 140.
Yeah.
And so I did what everyone taught to do and still teaches to do, which is I refied everything, I pulled out the money, and I bought more. And I got to 84 houses by 2007.
Yeah.
And you're not old enough to remember. I was talking to somebody just the other day about it, and I talk about 2008 and 2007 like it was yesterday. And a friend of mine said, God, that was 15 years ago. And I was like, man, I feel like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
So I got 84 houses by 2007, and then overnight, the world changed. Overnight, I had 30-40% non-payers. I had 84 houses. I also had 84 mortgages. And I had $1 million in cash saved. It all went down the drain, and eventually I lost 55 of my houses to foreclosure.
Yeah.
And that is devastating for anybody, but it's especially devastating for me, I had an Escalade wrapped in stop foreclosure, and meanwhile, now I have houses in foreclosure. And so it was a tough time, right? And so coming out of it, 2009, 2010, trying to figure out what went right, what went wrong. Most everybody that was investors back then went back to their jobs, went back to their old life. But there were certain people who were still crushing it.
Yeah.
Older guys, my lenders, people I knew that were older, they've been doing it 50 years. And so I started paying more attention to what they were doing. And one of the things that's interesting that they were doing, which goes against everything you believe in, Julian, everything you think, everything you know, they own everything free and clear. And everybody's like, clear. I was the biggest proponent. I hated free and clear. I'm like, you're an idiot. Leverage, 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 right?
Yeah.
But they were crushing it and everyone else was gone. And so I started looking closer at it. And ever since then is when I created what we call the slow flip model. So in 2011, I started this model where we buy houses with private money. So we have to use leverage, mind you. And even though I hate debt, but we had to use it because unless you have $10 million, you're going to have to use it.
Yeah.
But we pay it off as quick as possible. So we buy houses on 5-year mortgages, and then we instantaneously sell them on 30-year mortgages. Instantly. We don't do any work. We don't renovate them. We don't fix them up. We don't clean them out. I don't mow the lawn. We buy them and we sell them generally the same day. What we're really selling is the financing. Everybody's like, how could you sell it for so much? I said, because ours is the only one available with financing. The rest of them are available at a lower price, but you got to either pay cash or get a mortgage. Ours are available with financing. And so we sell them. I always joke and say, we sell the financing, the house comes with it. That's what we're selling is the financing.
I see. Okay. So I'm kind of understanding. So you buy this house with private money, and then you then sell the financing to the next person. So you have a good interest rate locked in, and then
Nope.
No?
I didn't clarify it enough for you.
Okay.
So we're buying them at one price, and I'm going to give you numbers, and you're going to say, wait, that doesn't exist. So I don't even want to give you the numbers yet because you're in South Florida. So we buy them at one price, and then we sell them at another price, about 3 times what we bought them for. We're not selling our financing. We're not selling them sub 2. Ours is a 5-year mortgage. So we're paying off our mortgage every month as we collect. Sold it on a 30-year mortgage.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to give you numbers, but before I give you numbers, I want to tell you, your first instinct is going to say, that's not possible. I hear it all the time. And when you say it's not possible, I always tell people, I say, wait, before you say anything, you have the internet, right? I say, just Google. It might not be possible in South Florida, but it's possible. You just have to go outside your market. You know, I own 178 of these right now. 79 of them are paid off. They'll all be paid off within 5 years because once I buy them, they're on a 5-year clock.
Yeah.
So we buy them on average. Are you sitting down?
Yeah.
We buy them on average for $30,000.
$30,000.
And then we sell them the same day for $89,000.
Okay.
So $30,000. Now, I didn't tell you this part. We pay out 12% interest to our lenders. So $30,000 at 12% interest amortized for 5 years makes our payment $667.33. We typically sell them for $89,000 and we only get $875 a month on average, mind you. I have some all the way up to $875,000 houses, but this is the average model, right?
Yeah.
So we only get $875 a month. However, that covers the $667.33 and our taxes and insurance. We don't really make any money. The difference is our buyer is paying us for 30 years. We're only making our payment for 5 years. So we don't really make any money, but on that 61st payment, it's all ours. And so it's the opposite of everything that, I know you learn a lot and you're going to a lot of groups and teachers and classes, and everything that you learn is the opposite of what I do. I'm against the Burr method and the leverage model. I'm against the making small spreads. Everybody teaches, make $200-300 a month. I tell my people in my group, I'm like, nope, we don't make anything until we pay off the house. Everything until then is not ours. We have a job working for the bank. Once we pay it off, now our buyers have a job working for us. And I've been doing it with this model since 2011, and it is insane how it crushes. But most people, I'll tell you why they don't do it. And this is why you won't do it, or why a lot of people listening won't do it.
Yeah.
Because we don't make money for 5 years. And most people are like, no, this sucks. I want to make money tomorrow. And I agree with you. And especially younger people, because younger people, if you're 20 years old, for instance, 5 years is a quarter of your life. You're like, I'm not waiting a quarter of my life to get paid, right? But once you're older, you're like, man, I wish I had done this 5 years ago. I'd be free already. And so it is hands down, it's not the easiest way. It's not the best way to get you rich. And I try and always clarify that. If you're looking for a Lamborghini and a yacht and houses all around the world, mind you, this can get you there, but it's not the easiest way to get there. It is the easiest way to set yourself free. If you're just looking for your $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 a month to be free, so you can get up in the morning and do whatever you want, you have more money coming in than you have going out, slow flips are the way to go. But it's not the fastest path to crazy wealth, which is, I know, what a lot of people are searching for, but you'd be surprised how many people are strictly searching for freedom. They're not searching for the Lamborghinis. They just want to be free.
I could see that. So I follow someone who says that the person who can delay instant gratification the longest usually wins the most.
Yep. You're absolutely right. There's a saying I say, and I don't think I told you this already, and I love this saying. I didn't make it up. It said, if you do what's hard, life will be easy. And if you do what's easy, life will be hard. And I love it because it makes it simplistic to think about. There's always an easy path. And if you can take the easy path and then have a challenge for the rest of your life, or you can take the hard path, and hard being slow flips are hard. You got 5 years that you're working and not getting paid, but then be free for the rest of your life. And so the way you worded it was exactly the same exact thing. Do what's easy and life will be hard. Do what's hard and life will be easy.
Got it. Okay, so let's do the math. So you buy this house for $30,000, right? So you pay out 12% interest, and so your payment is $3,600 a year.
No, my payment is $667.33 because it's principal and interest.
It's principal and so
because it's amortized. It's not an interest only. There's no balloon. It's amortized.
Gotcha. So 667, you said?
667.33.
Gotcha. And then where do you find these? Like what is the market? Like to buy a house for 30?
I buy in 4 different states. And so in my state, I live in Virginia Beach, and I started buying in my state. My first 120 are all in my state in Virginia. But after this last run up we had, these last few years, the values went up and up and up. And I bought 2 just this week. So we still buy them in our market, but it's harder and harder to find them. So I started expanding outside of our market. And now I buy in Missouri, I buy in Illinois, and I buy in Indiana. And out there, it is just abundant. And it's crazy when you look at houses out there. Sometimes you'll see them for 20 grand. You're like, 20 grand, that's not even a Honda Accord, right? And it's a house, and it's in good shape, and it brings in $800-900 a month. You're like, how is that possible? For a $20,000 house to bring in $800 a month. But they're abundant. They're out there, and they're abundant, and they're all filled.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you're spending $667 to the lender. Now you sell them for $89,000, and that payment that you're getting is $875. So it covers that $667 plus you said property taxes, insurance.
Correct. Sometimes there's some excess, but I always try and teach my people in my group. I said, don't spend anything, leave it. We also get $3 to $5 grand down, and I also tell them, I said, don't spend it, leave it in the account so that if there's ever a default or a turnover, you don't have to come up with money to pay your lender. Once it's paid off, that's different, then it's yours. But the first 5 years, I tell them, leave all the money in the account so that if there's ever a turnover or a default or anything, you still have that money sitting there to pay your lender, so there's no stress on you.
Got it. So, and then in that 5 year, it's a balloon payment in 5 years?
No balloon. It's amortized. There's no balloon.
It's amortized.
The 61st month, you have no payment. There's no balloon.
Okay. All right. And then you own the house.
And we own it from day one. The deed's in our name from day one. We have a private mortgage, and the mortgage is paid. It's like, instead of a 30-year mortgage like you get from a bank, it's the same thing, but it's a 5-year mortgage.
Yeah.
It's completely paid off after 5 years.
Okay. And then, so you own it then, and then now you're making cash flow. And
that's when equity. Yeah. That's when we start crushing it. I have 79 of them are free and clear now. So you can do the math on how much we crush it. It's insane. And it was tough. I started this in 2011. I wasn't really crushing it till 2016. In 2015, 14, I was starting to second guess myself. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm doing all this work, but all I do is collect the money and send it to the lenders. Starting in 2016, I was like, man, this is great. I get to keep the money. Now the money comes in and I get to keep it. Yeah. And it's been that way ever since. And we've just been multiplying.
So let's hear a case study from you. So you started this in 2011 with your real estate knowledge, going back, but, now that you have this many houses clear, like what are you netting a month now?
So a lot. So we bring in a way more than I actually net because I still have mortgages. But what I get to take home is over $70,000, $73,000 a month off crappy little houses that everybody turns their nose up at, which is what's interesting is because most people will teach you, and you're in a lot of groups, so you know this, Julian, most people will teach you, you don't want to mess with those crappy houses. Low dollar houses are the worst. And I agreed with them. Believe me, as a landlord, you don't want to mess with low dollar houses. They're the worst tenants. They're going to be the lowest amount of rent, $875. Who wants to rent a house and get $875, right? The most headache as far as repairs, turnover, anything like that. And rehabbers don't want them because they have the lowest ARV. Nobody wants to rehab in those areas. They're going to get ripped off while they're working on them. There's slow sales or no sales. So it's kind of, we call it real estate purgatory. So what happens is the sellers need the cash to sell, but the buyers, the people who want to live there, don't have the cash. They need the financing to buy. So we just step in the middle. We give them their cash and we give them their financing, and we're out of it. I mean, I never see my houses. I have 47 or something in Illinois. I've never seen any of them. I don't need to. We just process the payments. We're not landlords. We don't do repairs. We operate exactly the same as if we were a bank. We just process payments.
That's interesting. Wow. Okay. So in these since 2011 to 2023, now you've been able to net $73,000.
Correct.
And I mean that's an amazing track record right there. I would say anybody listening to this should be very interested in that. And it's also a safe way to get into real estate, right? Because you're not getting into debt.
My number one student, now I have a lot of students, mind you, but my number one guy, and he's young, which is why I guess he's so active and motivated, but my number one guy joined me when he was 25. He's 29 now, and he already has 68 of them. And his don't start becoming free and clear until this December. And I just recently did a meeting with him, and we were talking about it. I said, do you even fathom how much money you're going to be making? Starting in December, they start coming free and clear. And then every couple months, there's another one free and clear, another 5 free and clear, another 10 free and clear. I said, even if you never buy another one, we were just talking about this the other day. I'm like, you're 29. I said, so let's assume you bought them all last month, which you didn't. You've been buying them for 5 years.
Yeah.
By the time you're 34, you have 68 houses free and clear, which ends up being about $55,000 a month in income. And you're 34 years old. I'm like, everybody talks about all these different things you can do and multifamily and scaling, and none of that's wrong. And I always try and stress that to people. Everybody's always like, what's the best investment? I'm like, the best investment, as you know, Julian, is in yourself. There's a million ways to make $1 million. Choose one. They all work. It's just a matter of which one you focus on and go down that path. And it's not like there's one right or wrong answer. People are always asking me, is this better or is that better? I said, there's not one better. If you choose the one that's right for you.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I'm happy to hear a success story from your student.
I have a ton. You should hear my students. I mean, we have a ton. Most people, this is the thing. Like, he's an exception. He's the best in my group right now. But most people don't need 68 houses. Most of the people, because again, I teach freedom, not riches. So most people in my group need 10 houses to be free.
That's like around 10,000.
Yeah, it's a little less. But most people, what we do is we do an exercise where we come up with, we call you a freedom number. Not being rich, not mansions, not yachts, not Lamborghinis, but how much do you need coming in a month that's exceeding the bills you have going out a month? That if you don't want to go to work, you don't want to wake up in the morning, you don't want to do anything, you can still maintain your same lifestyle you have now. And that's what we call the freedom number. Most of the people in my group, it's 10 houses. And you will be surprised. We have most of my people in my group have already achieved it. Now, they haven't hit their 5 years yet, but they already have their 10. I'm like, that's amazing. That, again, you're not rich. So this is different than other things you might have listened to or been on or classes you're in.
Yeah.
Most people are teaching you the opposite, the shiny objects and Lamborghinis. I'm teaching people freedom so you can wake up in the morning and do whatever you want. And if it's just sit at your kids' ball games, which I do all the time, that's okay. You don't have to be out there with yachts and Lamborghinis unless you're into that. And some people are. But even that, there's a cost for that. There's time cost for that. And when you're young, you can put in that time cost. But once you start having kids and a family, it's like, well, are you trading your life with your kids to have more later? Or are you saying, you know what, I'm going to be content now and have my life and my family and enjoyment?
Yeah. Totally see the point of view. That's amazing. And so tell us about your community. So you have a community, right? You have students. Tell us a little bit about the metrics on it and, how long you've been teaching it and all that.
So I've been teaching since 2015. And, I used to do live local, which was, we did live events. That was it. Live and local. We only taught in my area. I only took students from my area. And I just recently changed, I guess, a year and a half ago to doing it national. And I really enjoy it. I wasn't sure I was going to enjoy it because what I liked about live local is I could actually meet with people, go on appointments, look at the houses, help them through the process. And so I was afraid to be national where I don't know this neighborhood and I know how to comp anywhere, but I didn't know the neighborhood and I didn't know the different things going on there. But I started it national about a year and a half ago, and I am shocked with how well my people are doing. We do a meeting once a week online, and I was fearful that meeting was going to drain me. And by the time I was done with the meeting, I'd be exhausted. And the opposite has happened to where I get off the meeting and I'm energized and excited because how many people are doing deals and buying slow flips. And it's not people complaining about life. It's people talking about, I bought 2 more, I filled this one, or what do I do with this? I got this happening, and they're all active in doing deals. So I've been loving it. I've been loving since I switched the model. I loved my old model too, but I've been loving the national online model. It's been going really well.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I like your branding too, Slow Flip. It's really cool.
Yeah, well, I tell people it's the slowest. This is, some people don't like this, but I say it's selling a house as slowly as possible for the fastest path to wealth. And it is to wealth, not to money, not to rich, but to wealth. But what my definition of wealth is more money coming in every month than you have going out. As simple as that. And slow flips are the fastest path to wealth.
Amazing, amazing. And so tell us a little bit about what it takes for a person to have the success you have or be one of your successful students. Tell us about kind of like the character that one should have.
So the biggest, I'll tell you, biggest regrets I get from people is, why didn't I start sooner? Like, even the guy that has the most, he was with me for 18 months before he actually started buying. 18 months. Wow. Because of fear, and then once he started and got over his fear, he went crazy. I have another guy that was with me and he bought 2 in his first week because he didn't have the fear. And so one of the biggest things I end all my meetings with is, do something today your future self is going to thank you for, right? I always talk about that. Think about yourself 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and I want the actions you do today to be thinking about that person. Think about the Julian in 2033, right? And so the stuff you're doing today isn't for you, it's for him. Yeah. And so I always try and stress that with people. And so you may be fearful of doing something, but you're fearful for you. What about him? He needs you to do this now, so he's living the life he wants to live. And so that's the biggest thing I tell people. I said, you have to be able to get out of your comfort zone and do stuff today that isn't for you, it's for your future self. And I always try and frame stuff for people to be thinking about in those terms, because the other side, and most of the programs you've gone to, and you've been to a lot, they're teaching you how to make money next month. And there's nothing wrong with that. I wholesale too. And I still teach wholesaling, and wholesaling's for making money right now, right?
Yeah.
But for your future self, for 2033 to 2028, that guy needs you to do stuff today that you're getting no benefit of today, but that guy is going to get all the benefit. And so we always try and think about him and provide value for him, because really that's you, but it's you 5 years from now.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that someone has to get over the fear. And I believe there's, more into it when it comes to like beliefs, right? You gotta change the belief that you can do it, just like your most successful student now.
There's so many beliefs. Like the first belief, which I already addressed with you, is people right away said, there's no houses for that price range. And I'm like, why are we having this conversation? You had Google, just Google it. Houses in America under 30 grand, and you'll see hundreds, if not thousands of them. They're available every single day. The second belief is we use private money, and people, I say, I don't know anybody. I don't know any lenders. I don't know. And I'm like, once I teach them the system we use for raising money, everybody comes back and they're like, man, everything that you said was going to happen, happened. I'm like, yes, the money is out there. We just have these beliefs that we believe everyone's going to say no. We believe nobody we know has money. But once you get over that and go through a process, the money is there. And then people have these other beliefs. They're like, why would anyone pay that? Right. And this is a legitimate one. I don't think you asked already.
I'm going to answer. I'm
going to ask it for you. Why would someone pay $89,000 for a house that there's another one on the block, for instance, listed for 35, right? Or 40, right? Or 30, whatever. Why would someone pay 89 for it? And this is a question that comes up a lot. It comes up even with the buyer. Sometimes we could be sitting at a table and they're about to do the paperwork and they'll say, but this is 89. I just saw one, looks just like it, the same condition, same everything, and it's only 40 grand. And my answer is, that's a really good deal. I would buy that one if I was you. Straight out. And then they inevitably respond, yeah, but that one I got to pay cash for. Well, then I would buy mine. That's it. I'm brutally honest with everybody.
Wow.
Because what we're selling, the value that we're giving them is ours as finance. There are better deals out there, but you have to have the cash to buy the better deal. Or you can buy mine with $3 grand down and $875 a month.
Yeah.
And so the value's there. The whole business is based on a premise that somebody who's paying any amount for rent, let's say it's $875, somebody who's paying $875 a month for rent would rather pay $875 a month to own. That's it. There's nothing else involved with it other than they didn't pay any more or less. They paid the same amount they were going to pay if they rented somewhere, only now they have a house. They don't have to worry about moving. They don't have to worry about their landlord saying, we're not going to renew your lease. They don't have to worry about rent increases every year. So it's the same amount of money they were going to pay anyway, only now they own.
Yeah, that's interesting. And wow, that's amazing. And I want to ask you, what is the skills? So people need to learn how to underwrite. Like, what kind of skills are involved to do this? Like,
so it's simple math. You know, most of my business is math. You know,
believe it or not.
Hey, my son's 14, and I'm always stressing in school. I'm like, math is the one thing you need to understand more than anything, because I'm amazed with the people that don't understand math. You know, it's simple. You know, even smart people. I know people that are very intelligent, but when I say don't understand math, they know how to do math, but don't understand the math of it, right? And I'm like, no, it still doesn't make sense. So you have to accept that math is your friend, and all of our deals are based on math, and you just have to be able to use the formula, do the process. You're buying it on a 5-year term. You're selling it on a 30-year term. $875 a month doesn't sound like a lot of money, right? But over the term, 30 years, they pay back $315,000 on your $30,000 purchase. They pay back $315,000. So when you think about it in terms like that, and you're like, well, then, so if you buy 10, that's 3 million. You know, that's 3,150,000.
Yeah.
What 100? I mean, it's amazing how the math works if someone's willing to just, you know, this is the other thing I teach. You said, what skill do they need? I always tell people in my group anyway, I'm like, don't reinvent the wheel. We've tested this. Do what works. We know what works. Just step by step, just do it. If you come up with a better tweak, by all means do it, but don't try and reinvent the whole process.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so where do you find these buyers the same day?
So the buyers are crazy easy to find. Sellers are more difficult in certain markets. Certain markets, they're easy. But the buyers are simple. So I'm in multiple different markets. So in my market, in Hampton Roads in Virginia, and it would be the same in your market, although you're priced out of your market. Yeah. We sell houses in my market in, I want to say a day, but it's more like an hour. And I did one yesterday that I closed on it Friday, and I was meeting a guy on Friday, but it was pouring, and I knew he's got 6 houses from me, and he drives a Corvette, and I said, I know he's going to flood, right? Everything was flooded.
Yeah.
So I rescheduled for yesterday. So it was still my first buyer. So I bought this house for $66,000. I sold it to him for $199,000 with $10,000 down and $1,275 a month for 30 years. I mean, so you can do the math. The math is staggering. Imagine you can use a lender on that. I paid for it, but still, 66 I paid. I sold it for $199, $1,275 a month, $10,000 down. The buyers are endless because we provide something that they can't get anywhere else. Like even regular real estate investors who are taking the regular, these seminars come into town every week and the 3-day events, they teach them to look for me. They teach them to look for look for somebody that says owner will finance, no credit check, low down, and they can make a spread. All the conventional models, the Burr people, all that teaches exactly to buy from me. They teach to make a spread. You're paying me $875, they might get $1,275. So they're buying from me and then they're re-renting them. They're fixing them up and renting them out, and then they're making the spread.
Oh, really? So it's not, you're not just selling to the end user.
I'm the investors,
the fix and flippers, and
a lot of
hold people.
We sell to a lot of Section 8 landlords. We sell to a lot of conventional Burr type landlords, and we sell to people that do some do rooming houses, but some do programs with like the government where they do programs of people getting out of jail, and the government pays like $500 a room. They get a 4-bedroom house, they're getting $2,000. They're only paying me $875. They're loving it. I'm loving it. Everybody wins. And most of all of our deals, everybody wins. People are always like, well, how could everybody win? I'm like, everybody wins. The guy living in it wins. The investor who bought it from me wins. I win. My lender's getting 12%. Everybody wins. That's why I love slow flips so much.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'd love to hear a story like that. That's really amazing. And so what brought you to this light bulb moment when you realized that you were out to do this better model than the model you were doing before?
So I may have told you this already. I don't remember. I started meeting with people that were doing well during the crash when everybody was floundering. Oh, yeah. And they all owned everything free and clear. And so I decided, okay, that's the route I should go. Problem is, I already spent all my money. I had no money left and I had no credit. And so then houses were plummeting. And again, I don't know how old you are. You were probably in kindergarten. Houses were plummeting, and houses would be listed for $16,000, $25,000. These houses were $150,000 just like 2 years prior. And I was killing me, but I'm like, well, I can't buy them because I have no money and I have no credit. And I wanted them free and clear, but didn't have the ability. So we came up with the idea, okay, I want to start borrowing private money. But, you know, and this is what sparked a car. You know, you buy a car for 30 grand, 50 grand, or whatever car you buy, and they finance it to you for 5 years. You buy a house, same dollar amount, they finance it to you for 30 years. And I was like, no, screw that. I want the same terms as you gave me on the car. I want to pay it off in 5 years. And so that's what we did. And I always joke and say, we buy them like a car and we sell them like a house. So I used to do a model very similar to what we do, actually almost identical, but with mobile homes prior to the bust.
Yeah.
Where I would buy mobile homes for cash and then sell them with financing. And then I got out of it because, again, unless you own the land, you're a slave in someone else's park. I had a lot of mobile homes in other people's parks. But then when the prices of houses started coming down so much, I was like, wait, we can do the same model now, but with houses. The only challenge is they weren't the same prices with the mobile homes, so we had to do the private money component. But in the end, again, everybody wins. The lender wins too. The lender's getting 12% of their money. I've never changed it from the beginning. It's always been 12%.
Yeah, that's amazing. Cool. Wow, Scott, you've really blown my mind in terms of how you invest in real estate. That's truly amazing. And for people that want to find you, you know, where do they go?
Well, the easiest way, I think I was telling you before we came live, is I wrote a book recently called The Art of the Slow Flip. And so I told you I was going to give everybody who listens to you a free copy of it. I have 250 of them right now. And if they just go to slowflip.com, that's SLOWFLIP.com, they can go ahead and get registered and get a free copy. They just pay shipping and handling. I think it's $7 or $7.90 or something. And we'll ship it right out to them. And that's the best way. Other than that, I'm on every social media platform. So you can, and no fancy names. You just type in my name, Scott Jelinek, and I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, you name it. I'm on everything. So that's probably the easiest of ways.
Cool. So I guess the last question I have is like, how is the management of all this?
That's the best part. So I am a one-man band. And I know, again, everything you go to is like, no, scale and employees and VAs and all this stuff. And I don't do any of that. So I have 178 properties now, and it's just me. Because, again, we're not answering plumbing calls. We're not doing anything. We just collect payments. And actually, most of that's automated now through the software. It collects it and it lets you know who didn't pay. And that's it. There's payments, and then we cut checks once a month on the first. So there's not a whole lot of work involved like you would have with rentals. Rentals, you know, oh, the sink's leaking. We need a new roof. We got to shovel the walkway. We don't do any of that stuff. We operate exactly like a bank. So it's just me. The management is as easy as management can be. Some of my guys don't even self-manage. Some of my guys use servicing companies, and they charge like $18 a month, but they pass that along to the buyer. Like, I think it's called Loan Care or Westar. There's a few companies. Yeah. And so the buyers don't even pay them. They're paying a regular mortgage company the same as if they had a mortgage from Bank of America. They're paying a lender, and they're getting a statement every month, and you're just out of it. You checking your mailbox for your check. That's pretty much it.
That's amazing. So you get your money, you split it, you pay the private money lender, and then you pocket whatever is left. Or you just keep it in a bank account, right?
Yeah, I tell the guys, don't spend any of it until you pay it off. Yeah.
And then once it's paid off at the 5-year term,
the 61st payment, it's all yours. Yeah.
It's all yours. And now the payment is going directly to you, and you're not having to pay out any private money lender.
Correct. So, I mean, even with 10 houses, like so many people, they're like, oh, I want 100, 500, and all that's great. But 10 you can do in a couple months, right? And then wait out your 5 years. Even if you just did 10, I'm like, well, in 5 years, you're gonna have 7, 8, 9 grand a month coming in just from those 10. And you can do that in a couple months and then just wait out your 5 years. So, I mean, the whole objective, the way I teach anyway, is to set you free. Then you can do the other stuff. If you wanted to get into apartments and do all this other stuff without the stress of I still have to live, right? This takes care of the living. This is your freedom number, getting you free.
Yeah, and so let's talk a follow-up question. Let's talk about what happens when there is an owner who defaults, for example, stops paying
a buyer.
Yeah, a buyer. Yeah.
Yeah. So the process, and it depends on what state you're in, and I'm selective in my states because of this. So the process in the states that I invest in is exactly the same as if they were a tenant who defaulted. It's nothing. You go and file an unlawful detainer. The sheriff comes and does an eviction. There are certain states where you have to file a foreclosure. And there's nothing against doing a foreclosure. The challenge is it costs money. It could run you $3 to $5 grand to do a foreclosure, and it's $38 to do a regular eviction. So I opt for states that we call landlord friendly, that allow you, if somebody defaulted, to just do a regular eviction and not have to go down the foreclosure route.
That's amazing. And let's say once someone, forecloses or you evict them, how fast can you get someone back on that?
Depends on my state, but in Virginia, we do them in a day. In out Midwest, my average market time in Midwest is 2 to 4 weeks. But to keep in mind, that's 2 to 4 weeks without cleaning it, without taking out the garbage, without mowing the lawn, without doing anything exactly the way it sits. Because I've never seen these houses. All we do is change the locks, put on a lockbox, and I have someone else do that. We don't do anything to them. So generally 2 to 4 weeks for the Midwest houses. In the East Coast market, I mean, I'm lucky if I can make it to noon. If I get it at 9 a.m., I'm lucky if it'll be vacant to noon.
That's amazing. Okay, got it. Well, it sounds honestly like a clear-cut business model. Just be the bank and collect the checks.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. So great. So I would say this has been a great conversation. I would say everybody to go check out Scott on social media and go check out his book at slowflip.com. And he's going to be giving out free copies to our listeners, so I'm excited for that. And for anybody else that is listening, Scott, recreated the wheel when he saw something that happened in real estate. And so I think he's a very smart individual to be looking out for. And Scott, would you like to have any parting words?
No parting words other than, again, like I tell everybody, do something today your future self is going to thank you for, because before you know it, it will be the future. And if you hadn't started, you're going to wish you started now instead of whenever the future came about and you say, I should have started. I heard Scott and Julian talking about this back in 2023. I should have started it back then. So, do something today your future self will thank you for.
That's amazing. I love that message. Thank you, Scott. So everybody have a good day and stay tuned for the next guest.